everyone. Thank you once again for tuning into our second episode now. We hope everyone is in a festive mood, and despite the fact that this Christmas really won't be like the ones in recent memory, we should still be thankful for the opportunity to reconnect with our family, even if it is just on a virtual basis this year. Just to give everyone a brief overview of this episode, we're going to start off by discussing the SolarWinds breach that you may have heard of this week, followed by a discussion of the new COVID strain that was detected in the UK, which led to a bunch of new lockdowns. It was announced yesterday. And then lastly, we're going to be talking about three stocks to keep an eye on this week. So without further ado, let's dive right into it. So Syed, can you just briefly again tell us what happened with the SolarWinds breach and maybe just differentiate, because last week we talked about the FireEye breach. So just talk about what happened first of all and how it was different from the FireEye breach.
So, as you guys saw with our Instagram post, and I'm sure you guys heard on the news as well, that SolarWinds got breached, and it was quite significant as around 18,000 clients got impacted by it. To first start off, what you asked, Deepak, so to differentiate between the FireEye breach and this breach, so the FireEye breach was essentially red team tools, our offensive security tools getting leaked into the wrong people. Here, a software called Orion, which is like a network monitoring tool, it got hacked, and a bunch of companies used this. And what essentially happened was that as early as March, malicious code was put into updates of this Orion software. And as I explained before, Orion monitors computer networks. So of all like businesses and governments for outages. So the malware that was injected, it basically gave these hackers remote access to the organization's network, so SolarWinds network, and as early as October 2019, the attackers have been testing their ability to insert this code by adding empty classes, and as much as 4,000 lines of code was injected. And this was in their testing phase of Orion. So this goes to show that while testing, not in production, during the testing phase, the code was injected and the security wasn't the same as it was in production. So hence the attackers were able to take advantage of it. And again, reports are claiming that Russia was behind this. And to one final point I wanted to add was that FireEye was the one that actually found out about the SolarWinds breach. They were the first ones to report it. When investigating from their own breach, they found out that SolarWinds was and Orion was also breached.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. So, like, speaking of FireEye, when we talked about it last week, we mentioned that after the news broke out about the hack, the stock was down like 14%. For the entire week, it seemed it was threading waters around like the $13-14 range. And then on Friday, all of a sudden, it soared like 33% to close. So, to me, it seems like investors are starting to bet that these repeated attacks that we're seeing will lead to more and more companies spending more on increased security and increasing their security budget, right? So, like, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think that companies are going to shift towards increasing their security budget, or do you think we're going to have to see more strings of attacks happen before that? Like, where do you see this going forward, and how do you think companies are going to be adjusting?
So, I've always said this in the past, and like I'm a true believer of this, that like cybersecurity should be in the budget, and there should be a massive budget for cybersecurity, and companies should not wait till they get hacked or breached, and then take cybersecurity seriously. So yes, a company like startups or even like big companies are like aware right now, and they have like a budget set aside for cybersecurity. But small companies, say if you're starting up a company, make sure that you have a budget in place for cybersecurity, and don't wait for breaches to happen and then worry about cybersecurity, because security is important. And as you saw with this SolarWinds breach, it's essential to have good cybersecurity measures in place, and that comes with money and a budget. And with this budget also comes training for your cybersecurity team, and having strong passwords. And we saw with SolarWinds that their password, SolarWinds 123, Not an acceptable password whatsoever. It could be brute force right away. There's many tools out there that can, like a human could actually like brute force it with several attempts, and there's also tools out there that can like within the blink of an eye can essentially crack that password. So this again applies to like training and awareness and budget. And on a side note, to add on to that, now that I actually mentioned the SolarWinds 123 password, it's imperative for all of us to understand how passwords are like strong passwords are crucial, and like make your password strong. Use password managers like LastPass to ensure that your password is secure. So what LastPass is like a vault where you can store all your passwords. You'll have one major password, key password, which you will use to get into that vault. So make sure that password is strong, and then after LastPass will store all your passwords, and you won't have to worry about memorizing them or anything. Make sure that the key password that you use for LastPass is strong and secure. But other than that, yeah, that's a really good tool you guys can leverage to stay secure. But yeah, I kind of got off topic there, Deepak. But yeah, the budget should be increased. Well, it should have been increased before as well, but like now that we see all these cyber attacks happening, it's imperative for all companies to take note and make sure they have efficient budget set aside for cybersecurity. And yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, you know what's interesting to me is that since COVID started, we saw a huge sell-off in the market. Obviously, some sectors rebounded faster than others, and we saw really a historic run in tech.
Yeah.
One thing that I felt like didn't really grow enough from that point was these cybersecurity stocks. I think they're still very heavily undervalued. So
Yeah.
I think moving forward, as investors start to see and companies start to see the value of these security stocks and these security companies, really, I think these stocks are just going to go on another significant rally. So I think they are falling behind the tech movement per se, but they're going to play catch up real soon. So I do agree, like the importance of cybersecurity
Definitely.
has
Yep.
been understated up until now, but I think they will be playing catch up shortly after seeing all of these things transpire.
Yeah, and especially with COVID-19, and everything, like everyone's using online stuff, and it's on the it's supposed to be top radar stuff. Like people and companies should be cybersecurity should be imperative for them to
Right.
for set the money aside and use it when necessary to keep their company secure from intrusions or like threat actors.
Yeah. And you know what? It's interesting you mentioned COVID again. That's our second topic that we're going to be covering in this episode. So, yesterday, Saturday night, actually, news broke out that, well, we kind of had an inkling about a new strain of the COVID virus,
Yep.
but it was more officially announced in the UK that yes, there is a new strain. It's spreading rapidly. It's probably already gone beyond the UK just through international travel, but they
It
announced
has,
that
yeah.
lockdown.
It has, yeah.
Right?
Italy. I just saw today had got it too.
Yeah, exactly. So like the lockdowns are resuming in the UK. They're probably going to resume elsewhere as well. International borders are starting to close again. I know Saudi Arabia announced it. So like as of right now, we don't really know how this new strain really responds to the vaccine. I think they're doing research on that. All we really know is that this virus, this new strain of the virus, spreads a lot quicker, so more people are getting infected by it. Um, I personally thought that the market would sell off significantly listening to this news, but looking at the futures, it does seem the market is relatively flat right now, which is a good thing. I think the stimulus might be boosting that a little bit, but we'll see. Oil is still definitely looking like it's going to see a decline. I think the futures on that are down
Yeah,
about 3%.
yeah,
Meanwhile, gold and silver are trending upwards, I think, as a reaction to the stimulus deal. I think these commodities should continue to climb upwards as the US dollar continues to see its decline. So, you know, with all that being said, like, what are your thoughts on this new strain? How do you think it's going to affect us? Yeah, just some general thoughts that you have on this new strain.
So I think like the stock market, like you said, will decline. The new strain got reported, I believe yesterday, Saturday. So we'll find out tomorrow what happens. But essentially, my two thoughts would be that the stock market will decline, and especially with these border closings as well. And then of course the vaccine coming out will play a major impact as well. And it's just gonna be a matter of like seeing what happens. But I think so, the stock market will be heavily impacted unfortunately in a negative way. but
Yeah.
we'll see in the coming weeks what happens.
I mean, it's still a little too soon to tell. Obviously, if we
Yeah.
find out that it's not really responding to the vaccine, that's going
Hmm.
to have a totally different impact. But yeah,
So
it's
side
definitely
effects
something.
of the vaccine too. Those that could also impact a
Yeah,
bunch of stuff as
exactly.
well. Yeah.
Exactly. So we'll see how that shapes out. But I think right now, like, there's offsetting forces here, right? Like,
Yep.
investors are saying, okay, like the stimulus package is coming out, that might support recovery. But then if we have additional lockdown measures, that might derail it a little bit. So I think there's conflicting forces here. So we'll see how it goes. But it's
Yep.
definitely something to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
Uh, I also wanted to
Definitely.
mention investing.com actually has a good article up today on three stocks to watch this coming week,
Yeah.
which I thought I'd share with all of our viewers. First one's Tesla. So Tesla's obviously joining the
Tesla.
S&P
Yeah.
index on Monday, right? So obviously it's seen a very historic run this year. They managed to report profits for about five straight quarters.
Yeah.
They ramped up production in China and they began expanding operation in Germany. However, investors are expecting there to be a significant pullback following the S&P index listing. It remains to be seen how it plays out, but personally, I think it's safe to expect at least a little bit of a pullback before it starts to potentially edge higher again.
Yeah.
It closed on Friday, I believe, at its all-time high at around 6.95 per share before dipping about 2.5% after hours. So that's something to look out on.
Yeah.
Moderna gained emergency use authorization for its COVID-19 vaccine in the US on Friday, right after the one being developed by Pfizer and BioNTech.
Yeah.
The stock's already surged about 600% this
You're
year,
right. It
but
does surge.
per,
Yeah.
yeah, personally, I still think the stock has room to grow. I think any pullback should be considered a buying opportunity. In my opinion, I think I'd definitely start sprinkling in a position if it does pull back.
Yeah.
That being said, Moderna was down about 2.6% during trading hours on Friday, closing about 140 per share and then returning to about 143 after hours. So that's
Yeah.
another one to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
And lastly, it's everyone's favorite. It's Nike. So
Nike.
it's one of
Yeah.
those companies that's seen significant growth via e-commerce sales and rebounding growth in China. One recent development is that Nike's raised its financial outlook or its fiscal 2021 outlook, I should say, calling for revenue to rise into like the high teens range percentage wise year over year. On Friday, it closed out around 137 per share and then rose to about 145 per share after hours. So
Yeah.
that's another one. I think these are three great stocks that they've talked about on investing.com with Tesla, Moderna, and Nike, different real industries and different sectors, right? So
Yeah.
if you're looking at any of these, I think you should definitely go visit their website and take a closer look at their article. But thought something that our viewers would find interesting. So with that being said, I wanted to ask you now, like, what are your moves going into the market this week? How are you shaping out your portfolio? Are you making any changes? Are you standing pat? So just
Yeah.
share that with our
Yeah,
viewers.
you mentioned Tesla in that article, and like I'm trimming my position in Tesla in anticipation of a potential pullback. But I am bullish of this stock long term, so this is more of a conservative move on my end, just in case.
Yeah.
I also
Yeah.
took a position in a FireEye after it dipped.
Okay.
After the
Okay.
breach, right? So I'm likely going to
Right.
trim
Right.
my position there as well, and I'm also considering going for VMware. As you guys may have heard, VMware was impacted by the SolarWinds breach, and I think it has the potential to be bullish. So I might consider going for that as well. But other than that, yeah, Tesla is a good one. That's why,
Right.
Tesla, it's been doing good like for the past like several
Yeah.
months. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely
Exactly.
Tesla and FireEye as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I mean, nothing wrong with taking profits, right?
yeah,
So
exactly, yeah, definitely, yep, yep.
Absolutely. Personally, I don't think I'm going to make many moves in the market. I'm still going to see how investors are reacting probably Monday, Tuesday, and just sort of gauge where we're at before
Yeah,
making any moves.
yeah,
But I don't anticipate making any significant changes to my portfolio
yeah,
for now, at least.
yeah,
Yeah. So, with that being said, I just wanted to give everyone a heads up. We will be taking a brief hiatus next week, given it is the holiday season, but we will be back the following week with a very special episode for everyone. So, in the meantime, we'll continue to provide regular updates on our Instagram page as we've been doing. So, if you're not already following the page, please do so so that you can stay on top of the latest news in the market. With that being said, thank you and have a wonderful evening. And Syed, if you wanted to add any final comments.
Yeah, so yeah, as Deepak said, keep up with our Instagram page. The audio for you guys will be out soon, so you guys can stream our podcast on your favorite streaming devices. It's a work in progress, and also there's a lot of things that we didn't get to mention in this because we don't want to keep this too long. But like Deepak says, keep up with our Instagram page. We're also on TikTok, Twitter. We'll have our website done soon, so that's something to look forward to. And yeah, for all the latest news and cybersecurity or like finance, stock market, keep an eye out on our Instagram page. We got you guys covered.
Absolutely, and I've seen a lot of our viewers actually sending us direct messages as
You're
well.
right. Yeah.
So we really appreciate that. We love interacting with you guys.
Yep.
And anything that you have on your mind, please feel free to send us a message, and we'll do our best to give you our advice. Obviously, we don't know what's going to happen in the market, but we just give our opinion on what we see, and yeah, that's all we can do, right?
Yeah.
So, with that being said, thank you again, everyone. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you next time.
Yep.
Bye.
Thank you guys. Yep. Have a good one.